So Kyle Klein got promoted to Discmania Sky Team, and that means Kyle gets his own Creator Series disc. And that Creator Series disc comes in the form of the Vanguard. And dare I say, this might be better than the PD. Let me explain. Now, when this first got announced a few weeks back, a lot of people were looking at it and saying that's like straight up a PD or like a slower PD. And it kind of is, but at the same time, it's kind of not. So if you look at the rim, it has like a sharper point to the nose and the wing, kind of like a PD style disc does, but it has a little bit more dome than the general PD does. Not to say it's super domey, I would say it's like a slight to moderate dome. But the biggest difference in the feel is that the rim is like rounded on all of the edges. So it almost looks like a Thunderbird, but you like take it and you round off all of the edges. Because of that, it feels great in the hand. This is probably one of the more comfortable discs in the hand, especially with this special blend S-line plastic. Like, it's not the normal S-line. It's like a little bit more grippy, a little bit more soft. A lot of people think it's like the Royal plastic, which I don't think it's the exact same blend, but it does feel similar and it feels great. But it has like that concaved bottom to it, but it's in like two different parts. It's very hard to see. And the edge, it feels like there's like a slight, like ever so slight nose bead on it, but it's all rounded. It's all rounded and comfortable in the hand. It feels great, honestly. Compared to like a PD, the PD is very sharp. Like, it feels like a very mean disc in the hand, which some people love. Like, a lot of people love the PD, but I personally think this feels a lot better in the hand than a PD because of all those rounded rims. It feels really nice. It also feels nice for forehand too, not just on the backhand grip. But because of all those rounded edges, that does lead to the flight being a little different than the PD. And that's honestly the reason I think this is a better PD, although some people might not like it. Now, really quick, we're gonna have these Vanguards on apollodiscgolf.com. These release on Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time. We also have CD1s, PDs, S-Line PDs, and we even got a bunch of new Prodigy on the site with feedback and a lot of the Signature Series discs on there. Plus, for the next 2 weeks, we have a promo. Any order over $60 will get free shipping, and for $50 orders, you get a free mini. These little, one of these like Apollo helmet minis. So check it out. The promo ends August 14th, and the Vanguards come out on August 2nd this Wednesday. So back to the flights. Now, I can kind of see where people were coming from when they thought that this was going to be a slower PD because this is a 9-speed when the PD is a 10-speed. But the PD has less glide and a lot more fade than it. Both the numbers suggest that and the flight reflects that. So this is going to be like a straighter, glidier PD, which honestly makes this really nice to just hammer on and rip on flat, and it's just gonna fly dead straight and then give you a little bit of fade at the end. But it just feels easier and doesn't necessarily need as much power to get good distance with the Vanguard. So like the Vanguard will consistently go further than the PD for me, and I think that's because it's a little straighter and it has that more glide. Now, it does feel pretty good for forehands. Now, I don't have the best of forehands, but you can really tell the difference in stability when you do that. Because when I forehanded the Vanguard, my like just bad forehand made it wobble a lot, and it made it go straight, maybe even turn a little bit before it came back. Now, it did end up coming back, but when I forehanded the PDs, even the S-Line PD that's supposed to be a little straighter, that didn't really, like, you can kind of see it wanted to wobble because I had the same like bad form on it, but it just didn't budge. It just kept going straight and gave me a finish. Not as much finish as like an FD3 or a Firebird, but the PD did hook up more for me. And not only that, but like the Thunderbird and the feedback both still was more overstable than the Vanguard. Now, I think the Thunderbird was a little bit closer to the Vanguard, but the feedback was probably a little closer to the PD in terms of stability. But the Thunderbird was definitely still more overstable than the Vanguard. At least my Thunderbird, which is a little bit more overstable for Thunderbirds, but I had an uphill wind shot and the Vanguard kind of like hyzer flipped for me and turned before it came back, when the Thunderbird like just didn't, it just flew nice and straight and gave me a strong fade at the end, and the PD even more so. The same with the feedback even. But it's nice because when there's no wind, you can really like, it gives you a similar flight to the PD, but for AMs, I would think that this flies like a PD would for more pro level players. But I really feel like this fits Kyle Klein's game a lot more than the PD does. Because Kyle's more of like a finesse type player. Granted, he can crush super far, but he's a lot more finesse with his shots. That's why he likes the Midnight Prowls a lot. That's a very finesse mid-range. But the Vanguard, I think the PD is a little bit like not suited as much for his game. This is a lot more suited for his game, in my opinion. It's a little bit more finesse, takes a little bit more touch, but it can still handle a lot of power that Kyle has. And I'm sure this will be just shredding fairways for him on tour. But I think this is very workable and a lot more accessible for a lot more arm speeds. And that's part of the reason why I think this is gonna be a better PD for most people, especially with those who throw under 400. I don't really see a whole lot of difference between a PD and a Firebird, and it doesn't really give me a ton of distance over, like, say, a Firebird type disc. But this would definitely have more of a spot in my bag, and it's just a little bit easier to get a good solid distance while having a strong stability to it. And I think this fits really well into Discmania's lineup. It fills that perfect gap, in my opinion, between the PD and the CD1. Like, this is gonna be like a more stable wind fighting CD1 in your bag. Like, if you get an Essence CD1 and a Vanguard, I think that's an incredible lineup for most AMs out there. You can do anything with that lineup. But yeah, let me know what you think of the Vanguard. I'm gonna get out of this heat because it is insane, and there's like flies out here that are eating me alive. So yeah, these are at apollodiscgolf.com. They come out on Wednesday. Also, a feedback review will be right here. So that'll be next week. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.